If you are watching this video, it likely means that you have questions or have run into a challenge implementing Project 115 Community Survey. As a fellow agriculture teacher and CASE lead teacher, I hope that the information in this supplemental video presentation answers your questions and helps you to successfully implement the project in your classroom. The content, tips, and tricks in this video are intended for CASE teachers, not direct student instruction. Project 115 Community Survey is part of Lesson 1.1, Starting a Business. In this lesson, students have already investigated consumer needs and wants, classified businesses according to the 5 common business structures, and investigated the supply chain for a food item. Project 115 Community Survey has students uncover which agricultural products or services are needed or wanted in the local community by conducting a survey. Project 115 Community Survey can sometimes seem overwhelming to students and teachers, but it doesn't have to be. First, note in the day-to-day plans there are 4 instructional days planned for this project: Day 6, Days 7 and 8, and Day 10. Second, students will need access to multiple resources provided in the Agricultural Business Foundation's curriculum. On Instructional Day 6, students will need Project 115 Community Survey, Project 115 Evaluation Rubric, and Market How-To Handout. For Instructional Days 7 and 8, students will be presented the Business Communication Etiquette PowerPoint and utilize the presentation notes page to record important information. In addition to the materials provided in the day-to-day plans, the teacher's notes will provide additional links and background information for teachers, including connections to FFA Agricultural Proficiency Awards and SAE for all. As you are working through any activity, project, or problem in a CASE curriculum, and you think, how did I complete that step? Or, I wish I had an example or more information. Always check the teacher's notes. Answers to many of these questions and more can be found there. This project provides foundational research that is needed for students to complete a business plan as a culminating activity for the Agriculture Business Foundation's course. Although this may seem out of students' reach, don't worry. Students will be guided through the process using a series of activities, projects, and problems that are spiraled and scaffolded throughout the course to meet this end goal. This project is written to be completed in teams of 3 students. However, as the teacher and based on your students and school community, you may decide to have students work individually, in pairs, or in the recommended teams of 3 students. The groups used for this project will be maintained throughout the course as students develop a business plan. Take some time and decide what groupings will work best for you, your students, and your school community. But you may want to wait to make a final decision on group size until after students have completed the interest inventory in Part 1 of this activity. In Part 1, students will complete an interest inventory using FFA Proficiency Award areas. If students, or you, are unfamiliar with the proficiency areas and/or supervised agricultural experience programs, known as SAEs, additional information is available using the links in the teacher's notes and the project document. Remember, students are not making final decisions on a product or service for their business plan. They are simply narrowing their interest and focusing their ideas so they can select a business idea to collect market research data about. You will determine student groupings based on these interests, and students will be asked to brainstorm potential business ideas, products, or services related to their selected agribusiness area. After completing their market research in Part 2 of this activity, students may find that based on their results, they need to revisit Part 1 and complete some additional brainstorming and market research before they are ready to select one product or service to focus on for the remainder of the course. That's okay. In the real world, entrepreneurs often complete several market research studies before finding the perfect product or service for a new business idea. In Part 2, the survey, students will develop a 4 to 6 question survey that collects both quantitative and qualitative data. In addition, students will need to decide how they will collect data: paper copies, phone calls, or an electronic survey. When writing questions, students may need assistance formulating good questions. They often prefer to write questions aimed at gathering qualitative data, but it's important for students to understand that although qualitative questions may seem easier to write, the data collected can be more challenging to analyze. The opposite is true for quantitative questions, as they may require more planning and effort for students to write, but the data collected can often more easily be interpreted. After students have written their questions, they will need to determine how they will distribute the survey. Students can select one method or use a variety of methods to collect data. Many students are unsure of how to effectively communicate in a professional setting, as they may simply have never had the practice. The Business Communication Etiquette PowerPoint will provide students with important information before they learn by doing as they distribute their survey. Business communication etiquette is important for students to consider when collecting in person, over the phone, or electronically. Many students will need support not only with strategies for face-to-face communication, but also with how to leave professional phone messages, conduct a phone conversation, and digitally sharing an electronic survey using Google Forms or a similar application. In Part 3, the survey says, students will analyze the data collected from their surveys. Google Sheets and Microsoft Excel are powerful tools that can be used by students to organize data into tables and charts. If you're unfamiliar with these programs, many free resources are available online using a simple internet search. Finally, students should identify 3 trends from the data and select one product or service they could offer to their community. Some teams of students will find that their market survey data shows a clear need and market for a product or service. That's great if students are able to determine this information after analyzing the data from the market survey. But teams of students may also find that they simply don't have the information they need to make an informed selection of one product or service, and that's okay too. If teams are unable to make a selection of a product or service, they should return to Part 2 of the project to develop additional questions and conduct supplemental surveys so that they can make an informed, data-driven selection of a product or service to offer the community. As you facilitate the project, you may find you have additional questions. As always, reach out to your lead teachers, connect on social media to other CASE teachers through the CASE Teacher Meetup Facebook group, or connect with CASE staff.